Good evening. How y'all doing? Did you have a nice holiday? Good to hear. Good to hear. My name is Johnny. I am from the area. And I got this little thing I'm doing for the last couple of years called Just Me and My Guitars. Pretty original title, huh? Anyway, it's kind of, I don't do any of my own compositions. It's more about celebrating influences of me growing up and probably molded me into the musician I am. Most of this stuff is from the British invasion because I am a child of the 60s. And I do go outside the box occasionally, and I'll explain why when I do. The other thing I want to make mention of is that everything you're going to hear tonight is being done in the moment. There's no pre-recorded tracks or pre-recorded loops, although I am using a technique called looping, which is very kind of similar to a modern-day version of what Les Paul used to do in the 50s with sound on sound and stuff like that. But anyway, the first song that you heard was a #1 hit written by Graham Gouldman for the Hollies called Bus Stop. Hopefully you recognized it, because if you didn't recognize it, I'm doing a horrible job up here. Hey, man. So I do go outside this 60s box occasionally, and like I said, I'll explain why, and I will with this next song. And the reason I do this song, two reasons I do this song. It's my very first musical memory when I was about 3 years old, which would be 1956. Don't hurt yourselves. I'm 70. They brought in these special lights to make me look 69. So, when I was 3 years old, my mom came home with this little phonograph record player, a little 45 record player, and brought in 2 records. One of them was by the Earl Bostic Orchestra, and it was called Harlem Nocturne, which is a really cool song. But the other record that she brought in, which was on the King label, and I was over the moon with this song, and it was recorded in 1956 by Little Willie John. You familiar with Little Willie John? Well, if you're not, you should be. The response is overwhelming for Little Willie John, by the way. He was a great soul singer in the tradition of real R&B soul singers, and he recorded this song when he was, like I said, 16 or 17 years old. Had a brilliant career ahead of him had he not been arrested for murder. And, you know, I don't know about here in Norwood, Massachusetts, but where I'm from, you get caught killing somebody, usually puts an end to your career, which it did for him. And but he did leave a great legacy of music. So the first musical memory is one reason why I play it. The other reason is my mother has been busting my balls for 50 years to play this song for her, and she just turned 90 years old this week. So it's a song called Fever. We'll send that one out to Mr. Charlie Watts, a Rolling Stone song from '65 called "Play with Fire." You know, I'm using these machines here, and sometimes they have a mind of their own, which they did in that song. So there were a little kind of hiccups. You probably wouldn't notice, but believe me, I was terrified up here. And can I ask a small favor? Anybody that's got iPhones, please don't use those little flashlights. They get in my eyes, and it makes it hard to concentrate on what's going on. I appreciate that. So that's Play with Fire. And before that, you heard Fever, Little Willie John. So I got this agent in Los Angeles. His name is Adam. I call him Agent Adam. And, you know, when I told him I was thinking of doing this solo show, he said, well, it could be a good idea. You know, I think there might be, more work for you, maybe support, maybe in performance arts centers or something like that. So he said, let's set up a little tour. I said, sounds good. So I said, well, let's start like, some tertiary markets where I can experiment, and, if I fall on my face, it's not really a big deal. He says, okay, yeah, it sounds like a plan. So he books me a bunch of dates. First one, Los Angeles. No pressure. So I go to do the gig, and I have a lot of, I don't want to drop names. I'm not a name dropper, but I do have a lot of friends in the industry after being in the industry for 50, 60 years. And so some of my friends came out to see me at the shows, the very first show that I did this thing at, and this is a very difficult thing to pull off for me. And in the audience was Steve Lukather from Toto, Elliot Easton from the Cars, Nuno Bettencourt from Extreme, Dave Amato from REO Speedwagon, and my good friend Howard Leese from Bad Company. And, no pressure. It's just like the Mount Rushmore of guitar players out in the audience watching you, like this guy with his hands folded like that. So I do the show, and it came off okay. I was nervous, but it was like okay. And but after the show, my agent comes up to me and he says, that really sounded great. I mean, you sound like 2 and 3 and 4 people up there. It was like, amazing, but... And then he says, like when you go to see Katy Perry? I'm like, okay, where's this guy going with this? This is my agent talking to me. I said, yeah. Or he says, oh, like Taylor Swift or something. I said, yeah. He says, well, they got all this production, like this bling and dances and this flash and all this stuff. And he goes, you're just like this little guy in a chair. You're not really doing much of anything. I said, excuse me? Not doing much of anything? He said, I really think you need to get some kind of like real production thing going on. So my first instinct was to smash him in the face. And my wife, who was on tour with me, I told her about it, and I was kind of upset. And she said, well, maybe he's got a point, I mean, you just don't discard it, maybe there's something to it. So I'm like my mother in the way that, anytime you ever say anything, the first word is no. It's like no matter what they say, you want a piece of cake? No. Everything's no. So one of my New Year's resolutions was to like say, well, that could be cool, instead of saying no, because no closes the door. That could be cool, keeps it open. So I thought about it, and I said, well, maybe he's right. Maybe I could do something to step up the game, in the show, and, make people be really more excited about it and like more going on. So this is what I came up with. This is called a capo or a capo, depending on where you're from. And it has a shitload of bling. And I'll tell you, man, I started using this thing. I got such great response that I went out and got a companion piece. My career has skyrocketed since this has happened. But, so I got to thank Adam for really putting me on the map. And I think I'll use this production piece right now. I'm gonna do a song that's it's not a British invasion song. It sounds like it could have, but the band was actually from Yonkers, New York. I'm sure the mayor of Yonkers would love to hear that applause. And I do this song I think it's from like maybe 1966 or something. Because it reminds me of when I was a younger kid in school, and there used to be this girl. Man, she was fine for a 12-year-old. But I was only 13, so it's like, it wasn't like anything too weird. And she used to come to school with, like, she had long hair like Cher and the bangs that came over her eyebrows and really fine, petite little frame, and with go-go boots and mini skirts and Angora sweaters and white lipstick. Lipstick was a thing back then. Anybody remember? Okay. So I remember one day she came to school, and she was wearing a white paper mini dress. Do you remember paper mini dresses? Does anybody remember those? You don't? Yeah, well, she wore a paper mini dress, and my first thought was like, how does she sit down in this thing? It's paper. But, so I was pretty fascinated, and look it, I'm prone to evil thoughts. I just can put it out there right now. I am definitely, may cross my mind occasionally. And this girl was walking down the corridor, and I was following her, and, just one of those thoughts popped into my mind. Like, where's a match when you need one? So I do this song. It's not the name of her, but the song, it's on my one November night DVD. It's called Walk Away Renee. Thank you very much. I guess Paul McCartney's one of Paul McCartney's favorite songs, written by Brian Wilson, called "God Only Knows." 2 short sets tonight. Time for a little intermission. So we're going to do one more song for you. I'm going to take a short little 15-minute break. Hope you're enjoying the show so far. Because if you're not, I won't be back in 15 minutes. Thank you so much. See you in about 15 minutes.
get sold, but I got say so much more. Well, I got kiss and control, say I got complete and whole. Well, I got my heart and toe, say I got in the go. Well, I got in the flow, say I got aces to throw. I got my aces to throw. Baby, I got sold by your love. Oh, I thought if I was your life, wrapped it up, was entwined. But the fires that goes around, I spend myself in your time. I thought if I was your life, wrapped it up, was entwined. I am the fires that goes around, spend myself in your time. You know I spend myself in your time. I say I've been broken down. Thank you.
Going for a drive, a place where we can hide. Going down the road into the unknown. Oh, for the Winnebago, baby, to travel with you. Let's go 1,000 miles, baby, wherever you choose. Yeah. We don't have to go, the idea's enough alone. Why we move so fast when we wanna make it back. The desert in the night, sunrise is far behind. A different state of mind, and we're reaching for the sky. Oh, for the Winnebago, baby, to travel with you. Let's go 1,000 miles, baby, wherever you choose. Yeah. Baby, it gets tired, feeling like I'm dying, hoping for another day with you. Oh, everybody's lying, caught up in the fight, escape someplace to find somewhere new to travel with you. Let's go 1,000 miles, baby. I'll find a Winnebago, baby. Let's go 1,000 miles, baby. I'll find a Winnebago, baby, to travel with you. Let's go 1,000 miles, baby, wherever you choose. I'll find a Winnebago, baby, to travel with you. Let's go 1,000 miles, baby, wherever
can't believe something's really wrong with me. I just took the wrong way home, and now I can't tell if the streets I know so well are the same. I know that something changed while I was gone away, but it's been like this for years. They say they all think my mind is breaking down, and I might admit that they're right if it would fix this broken town. Maybe I'll just float away in the murky water, say goodbye to wealth and fame, my future wife and daughter, and I'll just fly away. I'll just fly away in the murky water. It's like my uncle said on Independence Day, life changes when you look away, and you don't want to miss the fireworks, a boom and flash, and then there'll be just ash in the wind. I told a friend that I can't sleep a wink at night, that I've lost all my appetite, that I can't seem to write a song. He laughed in my face and said that I should wait for some real help. Maybe I'll just float away in the murky water, say goodbye to wealth and fame, my future wife and daughter, and I'll just fly away. I'll just fly away, float away. Maybe I'll just float away in the murky water.
Did you guys get all lick it up? I sound so much better after a couple drinks. So this part of, I had to divide the setup in a kind of a weird place. I usually just do one long show, but the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a few songs from my favorite band of all time, which would be the Beatles. Must have heard of them. They were in all the papers. Anyway, John Lennon, he got me kicked out of the 5th grade. Let me tell you this story. Can I start with a story? Is it okay? It's my show. I can do whatever I want, right? So I used to be a drummer. I started in drums when I was 6 years old. And when I saw the Beatles and Ed Sullivan in '64, I immediately wanted to be John Lennon. That's it. I didn't want nothing to do with the drums anymore. I begged my mother to buy me a guitar, which she did, which was a $49 guitar from, it used to be an electronics store called Lafayette Electronics. You remember that? So I got the guitar and the matching amp, and I proceeded to try to teach myself how to play guitar because I haven't never taken any lessons. But I just wanted to be John Lennon. I just thought he was the coolest guy. I still think he's the coolest guy. And so growing up, I come from divorced parents. When I was 4 years old, my parents got divorced, and my mom has a sister. My mom's name is Angie. I told her she just turned 90 years old this week. And my Aunt Helen is her older sister, and she just turned 95 on Christmas. And if you saw them in the day, they were like the Gabor sisters, these two. You know, hair up to here. It was like insane. Bleach blonde, you know, matching leopard poodle skirts and the whole thing. But growing up, my mom was a hairdresser, and my Aunt Helen was a hairdresser. My cousin Sue, who lived with us because, like I said, my mom and dad got divorced when I was 4, and my cousin Sue's dad, Uncle Bill, died. Hey, it happens. So we all lived together in the same house. My cousin Sue, when she grew up and graduated high school, she became a hairdresser. Right. My mother remarried. Let me see, how much time do I got here? My mother remarried, and I have a sister, Gigi, Angela. She became a hairdresser. And I married a hairdresser. But this is bringing me to how I got kicked out of school because of John Lennon. So when I saw the Beatles and I saw the haircut and I saw the whole thing, I just wanted to be John Lennon. So I begged my mother to, can you cut my hair like John Lennon's? And I went down to Sparks in Malden Square, and I had a pair of Beatle boots. And I don't know if you guys noticed. I know on the lights in the big stage, I probably look like a real big guy. I'm not a very big guy. And I was even smaller then. And I had little feet. I still have little feet, but don't believe everything you hear. And I had these Beatle boots, and they were so small, it looked like you could, you know, if you dyed them white or bronzed them, you could have hung them off a, you know, a rearview mirror in a car or something like that. So anyway, I begged my mother for this haircut, and she said, yeah, sure, Johnny, go wash your hair and we'll cut it. So she puts the cape on and makes a whole big deal out of it. And the day before this haircut, I had a whiffle. Remember what whiffles, crew cuts are, right? Basically, you got no hair on your head except for this, like, 2 inches in the front that you'd have this look like a popsicle thing that you put, and it's wax, and you would just wax your hair up. Because I played Little League Baseball, and I used to. So she says, yeah, go wash your hair. So I remember, no hair on your head except for this thing. So she goes, shh, shh, done, right? Man, I thought I looked so cool. Looking back, I probably, instead of looking like John Lennon, I probably look more like Jim Carrey in Dumb and Dumber. But it started my lifelong fascination with the Beatles and their music, and I was fortunate enough to see them in 1966 at Suffolk Downs. And they've left an indelible impression on me, and I'd like to do a few Beatles songs for you. And I don't know if you've noticed, but this is an instrumental project. I don't sing. But you're more than welcome to. If you know the words to these, please sing along. Thank you so much. A little bit of too kind. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Fabulous audience. I appreciate it. Oh, you heard Strawberry Fields Forever with a little bit of Within You and Without You and a little bit of Tomorrow Never Knows in there, and then some other nonsense. Before that, you heard a little bit of If I Needed Someone that was preluded by Here Comes the Sun, and then a song that Paul McCartney wrote when he was, it's arguable, between 16 and 17 years old, called I'll Follow the Sun. The response is overwhelming. So, yeah, I told you growing up, my favorite band of all time was the Beatles. But after the Beatles, when I really decided I want to be a guitar player, a lead guitar player, I got introduced to a band on record called the Yardbirds. And I was just a big fan of the Yardbirds, especially the 1965-66 version, which was the version that featured Jeff Beck. And as most people know, he passed away this past week. And I think that guy gave me more free guitar lessons that he knows. You know, I mean, I told him that I had the opportunity to meet and hang with Jeff several times and actually jam on stage with him, which was something, because when I was a kid, even from the age of 15, if you could ask me who would you like to jam, if you could jam with anybody, living or dead, who would you want to jam with? It wasn't Jimi Hendrix, although I loved Jimi Hendrix and I did see him in 1968. And it wouldn't have been John Lennon, although he's my all-time idol. It always was Jeff Beck, because Jeff Beck, to me, is there's only one. He's the only one that ever does what he does, and continued to grow until he was almost 80 years old and kept pushing himself the envelope of the electric guitar. Probably the most influential rock electric guitar that, you know, the world has ever known. Not to sound so heavy, but it's pretty fucking heavy. So, you know, and then 50 years later, after that album came out, I was asked to join the Yardbirds and sit in his chair. And I got the opportunity to tour with them for 3 years. And it was a lot of fun. And it was like a full circle thing, you know, because being so inspired by those records and that guy, and then having the opportunity to jam with him, and then actually be in the band that he, you know, that I aspired to, was something. So I'd like to do a little tribute, a little blues tribute, and send it out to Jeff wherever he may be, and we'll see how this goes. This is kind of I've really never tried to pull this off with the looper, so let's see what happens. Wish me luck, people. Thank you very much. Rest in peace, Jeff. Thank you. I'm bringing up the big guns one more time. I have a couple more songs for you I'd like to do. Plus, this has just been a really enjoyable evening. Thank you so much for coming out. I appreciate it. Bill and the whole staff here, it's just been a lot of fun and been very generous, and it was an easy day, which is fine for me. Thanks to the crew up there doing the sound and the cameraman, Mr. Cameraman. Hey, Mr. Cameraman, please. Now you know why I don't sing. See? It's been a secret for a long time. So I'd like to do this song for you, one of the last songs for you that is not a British Invasion song. Matter of fact, it's from the 80s. But I do this song because my daughter, who is now 33, says that every time she hears a song, it reminds her of me. So I usually play every night on the road. So I got that 5 minutes to think of her. I hope you like it. And it's really been a great experience playing here. I really appreciate it. Bill, thanks for having me. Very welcome. Thank you. Thank you very much. Have one more for you. Is that okay? You've been fantastic. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for being such an incredible, patient, and generous audience. I really appreciate it. See you next time. Good night.